So that brings us to capabilities. How do we get to the next level and start to break some dependencies so that we can go even faster? Because ultimately, we don't want to have to depend on the infrastructure team at all in order to create and deliver value. We want to be able to run at top speed on our own. So what would that take? So capability mapping allows us to look at the key capabilities that are affecting our target bottleneck, right? So we're not looking at every capability that we could possibly list, because 99% of them don't matter. The ones that are slowing us down matter. The ones where we're weakest matter. And so by going through flow engineering, understanding where our constraints are, we can target all of our efforts at the constraints, which means instead of this taking months to collect all this data and analyze it and having people not care about it by the time they get it all done, we're only looking at the things that are going to move the needle the most, where we're going to see the highest ROI. So in this case, what we want to look at is automated testing, integration testing, manual testing, environment management, data management, whatever it is that we think is going to make the biggest difference in our constraint. And so we look at this from a few different angles. And this is a very similar technique to the rest of them. We're going to be looking at just the most important capabilities. We want to understand who currently owns them. And so in many organizations, nobody owns things, which is our first challenge. But in this case, at least we have owners for each of these capabilities. That's a great step in the right direction. The next thing we want to consider is who is supporting the owner? Who's the backup? Because we have one single threaded operation for the capability, there's a high likelihood that that person is overloaded, that they struggle to juggle all of the demands on their time. They can't go on vacation, they can't take a day off, they can't go for training, they're constantly on call. They have the same problem that Ludo has. And so we can highlight that and we can make sure that we support those individuals by adding a backup who can be trained with them, who can shadow them, who can support them. Then we want to look at what level are we at with that skill at the moment? Where are we? So that we can understand the difference between where we are and where we need to be. Part of that is what we have in terms of support. What is assisting us to deliver that skill, that capability? That can be documentation, APIs, services, products that we consume, any number of things, anything that makes it easier for us to execute on that capability. So we can drive a degree of visibility and understanding into those support resources. Then we want to look at how long does it take to train somebody to do this? What would it cost to train someone to do this? Are we looking at, if we want to add a backup for SAM to support test infrastructure, how long would it take to train someone so that we can understand whether we need to hire someone or we can train them, or we can have a part-time individual assigned to this? These are things that we don't commonly consider, but they have major impacts on our ability to deliver a capability sustainably and scale that capability if we need to. Then we also look at comfort, because if the team's going to take on a new capability, if they're going to be doing something they weren't doing before, we want to make sure that they feel comfortable in doing that. And so this is a measure that takes the temperature of the team and helps them voice any concerns about adopting this capability, whether they think it's worth it to break a dependency for the sake of going faster, if they feel like it's going to actually make their jobs more complicated or risk their current velocity, then maybe it's not the right time. Maybe we don't have everything that it's going to take to support that effort. And all that gets factored into an overall score. So we start to see, okay, where the difference between where we want to be with a capability versus where we are.